This guide is born from the raw stories of thousands of patients and clients who've walked through the fire of emotional attachment and came out stronger. It's based on my realistic psychoanalytic approach. I created it to give you everything you need to break free and to light your path through one of the most painful emotional battles we face. I'm Dr. Yousef Hasan, medical doctor, founder of the realistic psychoanalytic approach and best-selling author of 3 Arabic books in psychoanalysis and self-growth. We will start the lecture with the types of emotional attraction, healthy versus unhealthy. How do you recognize unhealthy emotional attraction? You know that intense chemistry you feel? It's not always love. Sometimes it's a trap, a reflection of unresolved psychological wounds you never ever knew you had. What pulls you in isn't always the person, it's the vibe, the tone of voice, the way they carry themselves, the unspoken aura they emit. A victim energy unconsciously draws in a rescuer, a fixer. The nurturing motherly type is magnetized to the emotionally immature man because she's wired to fix, to carry, to heal. The submissive, she gets pulled into the orbit of the dominant, mistaking control for love as she is used to in her childhood. The one who hates their body obsesses over someone society deems physically perfect. The person with shaky self-worth falls for the narcissist who constantly demands they prove themselves. The emotionally hollow gets consumed by someone who love bombs, flooding the emptiness with intensity. A quick but important note on love bombing, because I get asked all the time in my clinic, Doctor, was he doing it on purpose? Was it real? Or was he lying to me the whole time? The truth is, love bombing can be conscious and unconscious. Some emotionally immature individuals genuinely believe they found the one. They shower you with affection, grand gestures, intense declarations, because they're overwhelmed by their own fantasy of connection. They think it's love, but what they're really in love with is how you make them feel, not who you really are. And then there's the other side. The players, the manipulators, the ones who know exactly what they're doing. They study your vulnerabilities like a hunter studies prey. They mirror your desires, feed your wounds, and wrap you in the illusion of being wanted so deeply, so intensely that you confuse it with true love. But it's not love, it's a strategy. It's psychological manipulation disguised as intimacy. That's why love bombing feels like a dream at first and a nightmare after. Because when it ends, you're left wondering, was any of it ever real? Now we'll go back to the unhealthy attraction. It's the lock and key effect. The deeper the contrast between your hidden complex and theirs, the stronger the attraction. It feels intense, almost magical, but it's psychological. And here's the trap. You fall in love with their words, their projected image, the fantasy you've always wanted. You ignore the actions, the patterns, the red flags, because you're attracted to the idea of them. Healthy attraction is not fireworks, it's resonance. It's when there's real compatibility, not just emotional intensity. You don't just click, you align. Your values, your emotional rhythms, your goals, they move in sync. You're on the same page, not just in one chapter of life, but across many. There's mutual respect, shared interests, and a sense of peace, not chaos, when you're together. It doesn't feel like you're trying to fix or prove anything. It just feels safe, natural, grounded, because real connection doesn't overwhelm, it centers you. Now, we'll move to the types of emotional attachment, the secure and the insecure. Secure attachment is rooted in healthy attraction. It's when two emotionally balanced individuals connect through mutual respect, shared values, real compatibility. It is the emotional foundation we're all meant to have. This person feels safe with both closeness and space. They know how to give love without losing themselves, how to receive love without fear. They're not drawn to chaos because they were raised with emotional consistency, not emotional confusion. For them, love isn't a battlefield, it feels like home. But in insecure attachment, it's different. It's not your soul connecting to someone, it's your wounds. It's when the unresolved psychological complexes of one person magnetically attract the complexes of the other. Just like we discussed earlier, the lock and key effect. One person's fear fits perfectly into another's control. One's emptiness is drawn to another's intensity. Feels powerful, but it's not love. It's trauma bonding in disguise. It wears many faces, but all of them come from the same core fear, the fear of not being worthy of safe, lasting love. It breaks down into 3 types. We call them the attachment styles. The first type, anxious attachment. A person is desperate for closeness, terrified of being left. This person becomes emotionally hungry. They cling, overthink, and constantly seek reassurance. They read silence as rejection, and love starts to feel like a never-ending test. They must pass to be chosen. They don't truly love you. They fear losing you, and that's it. The second type of insecure attachment is avoidant attachment. The person is detached, distant, emotionally guarded. They want connection, but the moment it gets too real, they shut down. Vulnerability feels like a threat, so they stay in control by keeping you at arm's length. They want love, but only on their terms, at their distance. The third type of insecure emotional attachment is disorganized, fearful avoidant attachment. This is the most chaotic of them all. They fear abandonment and fear intimacy. One moment they pull you close and the next they push you away. It's not drama, it's a nervous system shaped by trauma. Love feels unsafe either way. Their heart says, come closer, while their wound screams, stay away. All 3 of these are just different masks of the same inner wound. And when people say, why do I always attract the wrong person? It's often because their attachment pattern, not their conscious mind, is choosing their partners. An important side note, frankly speaking, in my clinical work, I don't focus much on labeling attachment styles. What matters far more to me and to true healing is uncovering the underlying psychological complexes driving the attachment in the first place. Because here's the truth. You can know your attachment style. Oh, I'm anxious. Oh, I'm avoidant. But that knowledge alone won't set you free. It's just a label. And labels don't heal. Unless you understand what psychological wounds are pulling you towards certain people, you'll stay trapped in the same patterns again and again. And that's why when a client tells me, oh doctor, I discovered I have anxious attachment style, I don't react, because that by itself tells me very little. In my practice, I've seen this over and over. Most people don't fit neatly into one category. Someone with anxious tendencies can suddenly shift into avoidant behavior, and vice versa. Attachment is not black and white. It's fluid, it's complex. If anything, the disorganized type is the most common I've ever seen in the clinic. It's the messy middle that no one talks about. But again, that's not the core. What truly matters is the why behind your attraction. If someone has a body image complex, they'll constantly be drawn to people they perceive as physically superior. That's not anxious or avoidant, that's a wound. And unless they work on that wound, they'll keep getting trapped in dynamics where they feel less than or unworthy of love. This applies to all complexes, whether it's fear of abandonment, need for validation, obsession with perfection, attraction to emotionally unavailable partners. If you only focus on your attachment style, you're looking at the surface. But if you start uncovering the complexes, you start pulling the roots. Attachment style is just the shape of your wound. Complexes are the source of it. And real healing begins when you stop describing the pattern and start dismantling it. Not all emotional attachment is created equal. Through my clinical experience, I've divided attachment into 3 distinct grades, based on intensity, psychological damage, and how deeply it interferes with a person's life. Let's start with grade 1, insecure attachment. This is the mildest form. Yes, you feel emotionally attached. Yes, it's hard to let go, but you can walk away when it's necessary. Here, only 1 or 2 psychological complexes are being triggered. Maybe a fear of rejection or a need for validation. Maybe you are the hero and the other party is the victim. This causes discomfort, but it doesn't destroy your functionality. In grade 1, we said the hero is drawn to the victim, to fix him. In grade 2, let's take the same example, the hero and the victim, and we'll add emotional hollowness on the person with emotional intensity in the opposite person. So here we have more complexes, and it turned into pathological attachment. So I call grade 2 pathological attachment. This is where things get serious. At least 3 psychological complexes are operating simultaneously, and they start shaping your daily decisions, emotional stability, and sense of identity. You know the relationship is hurting you, but leaving feels extremely difficult. You may become obsessed with fixing the person or saving the relationship, even at the cost of your mental health. In grade 3, love addiction, we'll add to the complexes. We said the hero and the victim, then we said emotional wholeness with intensity. Here we might add the submission and dominant pattern. So we have many more complexes that work into this category. This is the most dangerous and destructive form. The other person becomes the center of your universe. They dictate your mood, your motivation, even your reason for waking up. If they're happy, you're ecstatic. If they're cold, you're spiral. Their presence becomes an emotional drug, and you'll do anything to keep it coming. Cancel your plans? Done. Abandon yourself gladly, not out of love, but out of fear. Even when the relationship is toxic, you crave the hit of attention, of presence, of momentary affection. It's not love anymore. It's dependency. As a medical doctor, I've treated cases of drug addiction that were easier to rehabilitate than grade 3 love addiction. Because this kind of attachment doesn't just live in the heart, it hijacks the nervous system, and breaking free often requires a full psychological rehabilitation. Now we reach the point where we have to dive into the core differences between emotional attachment and real love, because confusing the two can cost you years of your life. Love is built through actions. In love, it's the consistent, caring actions that create and nurture the emotion. It's a gradual process. It starts small, grows with time, and deepens with shared effort. But attachment doesn't wait for action. It often forms in the absence of real love behaviors. It can hit you fast, sometimes in the first few weeks, flooding you with intensity that feels like passion, but is actually your inner wounds being activated. Love is rooted in self-sufficiency. When you love someone, you still remain whole. You choose them not because you need to fill a void, but because you value the connection. But in attachment, you're trying to fill an emptiness inside you. It's needs-based, not love-based. You rely on the other person to regulate your emotions, to give you meaning, to feel alive. Love creates space for growth. In real love, there is room for both people to evolve. There is support, expansion, and mutual respect. But in attachment, growth feels threatening. Why? Because change might mean loss, and attachment is terrified of loss. It clings, it resists change, it demands reassurance. Attachment constantly seeks safety. It's fueled by fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. It's fragile. It's emotionally unstable. One wrong word, one delayed text, and your whole world can feel like it's falling apart. An important side note here I wanted to add: even in real love, we might still crave reassurance, especially if we were raised in environments that denied us emotional safety. We live in a society that doesn't teach us self-worth, doesn't validate emotions, and doesn't nurture wholeness. So it's no surprise we confuse attachment for love. But here's the truth. Love brings peace. Attachment brings anxiety. Love lets you grow. Attachment keeps you stuck. Love is about choice. Attachment is about need. Now let's move to the love actions. What are the love actions that I'm talking about? And what does real love look like? Not in words, not in fantasies, but in actions, because love, if not shown through behavior, is just a hollow promise. Number 1, commitment through conflict. Real love holds you. It fights for the relationship, even when things get hard. It doesn't disappear at the first sign of discomfort. In conflict, love doesn't rationalize or make excuses. It listens. It says, "Tell me how you feel. Help me understand." It seeks common ground, not silence, not blame shifting, not emotional withdrawal. No ghosting, no gaslighting, no playing the victim, just two people standing face to face, choosing to grow instead of choosing to run. Number 2, Presence and support. Love shows up not only when it's convenient, whether it's financial support, acts of service, or simply being there. Love says, my resources, my time, my presence, they're yours when you need them. No one is ever too busy for love. If you matter, you become a priority. And that's it. 3. Emotional holding. Real love holds space for your dark days. When you doubt yourself, they still believe in you. They stand by you, not to fix you, but to remind you of who you really are when you forget. 4. Appreciation and verbal affection. Love doesn't stay quiet. It notices, values, praises, it expresses admiration out loud, frequently and sincerely. 5. Care for the small things. Love lives in the details. It remembers you had a migraine yesterday and checks on you today. It follows the rhythm of your day, your needs, your struggles. You're not just living in your own universe anymore. You're also orbiting theirs with attention and care. 6. Sexual containment and emotional intimacy. Love doesn't treat sex like a transaction. It brings emotional safety before, during, and after. It's about connection, presence, and respect, not performance or self-interest. And if you guys like, I can make a separate video on the most common sexual issues I encounter in the clinic. Just comment down on the comment section and I will do whatever video you'd like next. 7. Companionship in the little moments. If she's reading a book at a cafe and tells you about it, you ask, "What are you reading? Send me a picture of the page." Not because you need to know, but because you want to be there, even when you're not. Love is presence, even from a distance. Never forget that. 8. Shared vision and gentle acceptance. His goals slowly become your shared goals. His dreams feel like yours too. And most importantly, he never feels like he has to constantly justify his existence to you. Love doesn't interrogate, it accepts. Love doesn't demand explanations, it understands without words. And finally, love expresses itself daily, not just in crisis. There are check-ins, words of affection, emotional transparency that say, "I see you, I choose you, I'm with you." Now, towards the main goal of the video, a step-by-step guide to overcoming emotional attachment. But before we dive in, there is one thing you must understand. Attachment is not a conscious choice. It's a system inside your brain, an emotional reflex. And every time you meet someone who fits the lock, this system activates, whether you want it or not, whether you feel like it or not. It doesn't matter how much you've read about attachment theory. It doesn't matter how many self-help books you've memorized. The system doesn't deactivate through knowledge. It deactivates through real-world action. I've seen this firsthand. I had many psychiatrists and psychotherapists come to me deeply stuck in emotional attachment. They knew everything there was to know about it, but they couldn't get out of it. That's when I realized something crucial. Awareness and being conscious alone is never enough. Many people fall into what I call the fake achievement complex. They read, they analyze, they intellectualize, and they feel the euphoria of progress, but emotionally, they're still stuck because their mind is achieving, but the reality has never changed. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have a hero complex and a self-esteem wound. You've always been drawn to people who play the victim and devalue you. Now you meet someone new. On the surface, she seems different, but then she starts making self-hating comments and in a subtle way crosses your boundaries. Your system kicks in. You start feeling the same magnetic pull because your complexes are being activated. This is what I call a retest. Life is checking. Did you really heal? Or are you still trapped in the pattern? And unless you're able to recognize in the moment and respond differently, you'll fall right back into it, no matter how much you've read or healed in isolation. That's why real healing has to happen through real life experiences. You can't become a great boxer by just running. You have to enter the ring, get hit, reflect, adjust. And in emotional healing, that ring is relationships. You must expose yourself to real interactions. test your patterns, and make new decisions. Otherwise, you're only doing 25% of the work. Now, I often get asked, Doctor, is it even possible to love without attachment? And I say yes, but it's rare. We've been shaped by dysfunctional environments, so our goal is not perfection. Our goal is this: 70% real love, 30% attachment. That's a realistic balance for me, and it's powerful. Now, let's go back to overcoming emotional attachment. In my clinic, here's how I approach attachment. First, we analyze the relationship. Is it healthy? Toxic? What are the hidden patterns? We dissect it deeply, so the illusion is shattered. Many clients are shocked when they realize that they were actually in love with a narcissist they thought was an angel. We identify psychological complexes. What wounds are being activated? We create boundaries to protect the self and slow the emotional enmeshment. We build self-worth through purpose, achievement, and identity outside the relationship. We reprocess trauma, especially childhood wounds that created the attachment blueprint. We start to rewire the mind through action, not theory, meeting new people to build an abundance mindset and recognize the patterns when they surface. The more people you date, the more opportunities life gives you to confront and break your patterns. We restore balance through strengthening other emotional bonds, so one person no longer holds all the power. Discipline and daily routine to anchor the self in purpose, not in longing. The more bonds you build, the less you're emotionally enslaved by one person, and the more you return to your center, the more clarity you gain about what love is actually like. And if you want a deeper breakdown of what to do post-breakup, I've already created a full video called How to Get Over a Breakup, or The Ultimate Guide to Get Over a Breakup. You can watch it on the channel. But remember this, emotional attachment doesn't dissolve through awareness. It dissolves through experience, through the right support, through real analysis, through love that's chosen, not clung to. That's the heart of my method, the realistic psychoanalytic approach, where theory meets life and practice. Now we'll move to key takeaways and a quick summary of the whole video so that you harness the major aspects of it. But before I get into the key takeaways of the video, if you have a personal consult for a customized experience, you can reach out to me in the WhatsApp of the clinic. You can find it down on YouTube. I have also Arabic and English Instagram. The consultation can be both in Arabic or English, a video or a phone call. Now let's get back to the takeaways. Emotional attachment is not love. It's often a reflection of unresolved wounds. What feels like chemistry may actually be the activation of deep psychological complexes. You're not falling for the person, you're falling into a pattern. Remember that. Love bombing is real, and it can be conscious or unconscious. Some people love bomb because they're emotionally immature. Others use it as a manipulative strategy. Either way, it's not love, it's illusion wrapped in intensity. The lock and key effect explains why unhealthy attraction feels so powerful. Your unhealed wounds are a perfect match for someone else's dysfunction. The more your complexes align in opposite directions, the stronger the emotional pull. Real love is built through consistent action, not emotional highs. Love grows slowly through care, communication, presence, and mutual support and growth. Attachment, on the other hand, often starts with explosive intensity and quickly becomes unstable. Attachment isn't a choice. It's an automatic system in the brain. Reading about attachment styles won't deactivate it. Only real-life action and re-exposure to relationships and dating experiences can rewire the system. Healing happens in experience, not in theory. Attachment styles are only surface labels. The real work is in uncovering your psychological complexes. You don't break a pattern by knowing you're anxious or avoidant. You break it by understanding the wounds beneath it. Body image issues, abandonment trauma, need for validation, and more. Emotional attachment has different intensities, from mild insecurity to full-blown love addiction. In grade 1, discomfort, but you are functional. In grade 2, it's emotionally destabilizing. In grade 3, it's life-consuming, the person becomes your drug. Love addiction can be harder to treat than substance addiction in some cases. Never forget that. The goal is not to love without attachment, but to balance them. A healthy relationship can include 30% of attachment, as long as 70% of it is rooted in mature love actions. Perfection isn't the aim. Stability and awareness are. Love expresses itself through specific behaviors. Genuine love is shown in presence, consistency, care for small details, emotional safety, growth-oriented support, deep companionship, and shared values. If those aren't there, it's not love anymore. Healing from attachment requires reality-based exposure, not isolation. You can't heal your attachment pattern by reading alone. You have to re-enter the ring. Real progress happens when you test your patterns in relationships, stay conscious, build new bonds, and anchor yourself through routine, purpose, and self-worth. What attracts you isn't always love. Sometimes it's your trauma calling out for resolution. You may think you're choosing someone new, but you're actually repeating an old emotional script. Until the pattern is seen, it will keep playing out. Insecure attachment isn't about the person. It's about your unmet emotional needs. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the feeling of being seen, validated, or needed, even if it's toxic. Complexes are the hidden architects of your relationships. Whether it's a body image complex, a hero complex, or a fear of rejection, your inner emotional blueprint is choosing your partners, not your conscious mind. Real healing begins when you stop romanticizing dysfunction. You have to stop calling intensity as passion, control as care, and inconsistency as mystery. Real love feels stable, not like a roller coaster. Recovery from emotional attachment is a process of rebuilding your inner world. You don't just move on, you restructure your identity, reshape your desires, and rewrite your emotional responses. And that takes time, repetition, and effort. So be ready for that.